Today, I'm breaking down 3 struggling players on the Marlins and predict whether there's any hope of them finding success.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You could find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets right now. So on today's show, I'm going to look at 3 players, Dane Myers, Eric Wagaman, and Liam Hicks, all of whom have fallen upon tough times, especially offensively. I'm going to look at them more in depth and predict whether or not they'll be able to regain or just in general find any version of success, starting with Dane Myers. Dane Myers started the season as one of the Marlins' best hitters. He was on fire to start the year, and there was talk, even, a couple weeks before the deadline, whether or not a team might try to acquire Dane in a trade. Everything has fallen off since July 1st. Dane is struggling big time. And you look at the numbers, he's hitting just 142 or 125, OBP of 188, and slugging 170 over the last 30 games. In the month of July, a 26.7 strikeout rate compared to a 2.7% walk rate. In the month of July as well, 75 plate appearances. He had 1 extra base hit. All in all, that was good for a 0 WRC plus. In essence, Dane Myers has been awful. But all is not lost. And I do believe there's a reason to have hope that Dane's going to find his footing once again. And it starts with the fastball. Last year, I'm going to use this as an example. Kyle Stowers came over from the Baltimore Orioles and was abysmal. He was playing every day and doing absolutely nothing with his opportunity. And coming into 2025, there were no expectations with Kyle Stowers. The hope was that he would be a serviceable player. Nobody envisioned him becoming an all-star and an MVP candidate, and that's exactly what happened. But what changed for Kyle Stowers? Well, number one, a season ago, pitchers could attack up in the zone with the heater and blow fastballs by him. He could not hit the pitch. Hit under 200 against fastballs. This year, right around 300 is his batting average. If you can hit velocity, or if you can't hit velocity rather, then your entire offensive profile, you're going to struggle. You're going to have a real tough time surviving in the major leagues because a fastball, most hitters can hit that. It's the off speed and the sliders, the changeups, the arsenals that pitchers have these days. Velocity is the one thing that you should be able to hold your own against. And Stowers made that adjustment and is now really good against the pitch. He's hit 15 homers this season off of fastballs. The last month for Dane Myers, he's seen struggles against fastballs. Month of July, he hit 146, expected batting average of 201. Expecting batting average pretty much just tells you how likely a hit is going to occur based off the quality of contact. So when Dane is making contact with fastballs, it's not good contact. Pretty much it's going to be an out 8 times out of 10. He has no plate discipline, no power. That's the other factor in this. So I when you have one extra base hit over the last month and a half, that's a problem. Dane Myers, I look at as more of a power threat, somebody that can hit the ball gap to gap, hit it over the fence, and cause damage. Be a run producer. That's what he was early in the season. The home run numbers, not necessarily, but Dane was a threat with the bat. Last month and a half, not at all. I need to see better plate discipline come from Dane. You can't strike out 27% of the time and walk under 3% of the time and expect any version of sustained success. That's a recipe for disaster. That gets you benched. And then when you're struggling against four-seamers, the majority of what pitchers throw is velocity. If you can't hit that, then you're going to be all out of sorts, because that's when you're going to have trouble mentally in the box, because you're going to be pressing. You're not confident in yourself. It starts and ends with velocity. You have to hit velocity. And Dane hasn't been doing that. A huge drop off from the start of the season to last month, and carrying on now into August. In August, he's 1 for 19 with one single. That's it. So since July 1st, one homer, no doubles, no triples. That's not going to play. He has to get back to being a threat against the fastball in order to make pitchers respect his offensive game. I have hope for Dane. I do think I have the belief that he can be an adequate platoon bat on the season. The splits are very, very clear. He's good against lefties, bad against righties. Now, he's been bad against everybody the last month and a half, as I've laid out here. But overall, in 2025, he's hitting .302 against lefties, just .208 against righties. Jesus Sanchez carved out a career with the Marlins as a platoon bat, as somebody that never figured out the ability to hit left-handed pitching. Of course, Jesus was a lefty, Dane's a righty, but it's the exact same scenario. You just flip the sides of the plate. Defensively, Dane's good. He's got a rocket of an arm. He's got range. He has speed. When he does get on base, he's a threat to steal. So all is not lost with Mr. Myers. But the back end of this month, and now, we're in the final stretch of the season here, heading into September in a few weeks. He's got a lot to prove. But all's not lost. There's hope for him. But he has to regain his form that he had at the beginning of the season and maintain a disciplined approach. One player who I'm not as enthused about regaining success, or just finding success in general, in this player's case, is Eric Wagaman. He's just not good. I'm going to talk about him right after this. This episode is brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Nope, you called the next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. If you juggled 2 phones in the past to keep business calls and personal calls separate, OpenPhone solved that. Also, they have an AI agent that handles after-hours calls, so you can spend your time when you get home with your family or watching the Marlins game. So right now, OpenPhone is offering Locked On Marlins listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. And for me, I can't wait for the NFL. I love baseball, but I love football also. For the MVP, it's hard not to bet against an AFC quarterback. You got a lot of good ones. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson again, Josh Allen again. We'll see what happens. But you can visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets right now. I appreciate all the everyday listeners making Locked On Marlins part of your daily routine. I can't do this without you. I appreciate the support. It means a lot. Eric Wagaman, oh boy. I got to say, I'm completely done with the Eric Wagaman experiment, and I have been for some time. When you look at the OPS leaders, you expect to see, in regards to first baseman, you wouldn't expect to see Luis Arias at the top of the list, nor would anybody. He doesn't draw a lot of walks. He doesn't hit for a lot of power. And yet he has an OPS, on base plus slugging, over 100 points higher than Eric Wagaman. That's unacceptable. Luis Arias, 730 OPS. Eric Wagaman, 622. He's in the low 600s. What are we doing here? Why is Eric Wagaman so darn bad, though? It starts with zero plate discipline and zero power. He has neither of those. And if you don't have one of those, like Luis Arias, no plate discipline, no power, you better be really freaking good at making contact and getting base hits. And he doesn't have that either. In fact, Eric Wagaman doesn't have a singular elite or good trait about him. If you want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe he's not good offensively, what does he do defensively? Still not good. He's one of the worst first basemen in the major leagues. Just doesn't have the range, doesn't have the arm. He's not a good baseball player for the major league level. And this isn't to attack Eric Wagaman, but baseball's a business. And the Marlins have a clear issue now at first base. In an ideal world, Davison De Los Santos would be the everyday Marlins first baseman right now. We're in mid-August. Davison De Los Santos had all the power in the world, exciting prospect, was the home run king. Instead, he's in the minor leagues, and Eric Wagaman has racked up over 400 plate appearances this season and continues to play every single day. He doesn't offset the lack of power by walking. 6% walk rate. That's not good. That's bottom of the barrel, below average plate discipline for a player that already isn't giving you home runs. He has 6 homers across 400 plus plate appearances. That's not going to cut it. In fact, you look at somebody like Matt Mervis, who's been DFA'd by the organization and he got released from AAA Jacksonville. There's an argument that Matt Mervis at least provides somewhat of a puncher's chance for a home run. I know Wagaman homered a few days ago, but the Marlins were already down by like 5 runs. He's not the power hitter that, given the position and his stature, he's 6'4", 210 pounds, you would expect him to be. A very disappointing season for Wagaman, and they continue playing him. Part of this is the fact, who do you have left? Do you give the lion's share of the at-bats to Troy Johnston and Liam Hicks. They're both lefties. Wagaman's a righty. So naturally, you probably want a platoon. This team platoons a ton. They pick the matchups in game. They'll pinch hit. Wagaman will pinch hit for Jacob Marcy. Make that make sense. But De Los Santos, who also is a righty, Wagaman's a righty, DDLS is a righty. Apparently, he's not major league ready yet, because I promise you this, if the organization thought that De Los Santos was ready to take first base, then he'd be up there, because it literally cannot get much worse than what Wagaman is producing. All in all, Eric Wagaman has a negative 15 run value, negative 15 batting run value. That's good for the second percentile among all qualified major league hitters. Awful, horrendous, inexcusable to keep playing him. And yet they do. We talked about on the show how I believe Agustin Ramirez isn't a long-term catcher, and I would want to see him get moved to first base. And now, of course, that's complicated because you traded away Nick Fortes, so you still need to have two catchers. Unless Joe Mack was ready, you call up him. But wouldn't you want to see Agustin Ramirez play first, get Wagaman off the team, or relegated to a bench role? There's no clear fix. I think this is what the Marlins are going to run out the remainder of the season. They already signed him to a free agent contract this offseason. If they wanted to DFA him, they would have done so already. There's no hope for Eric Wagaman. Not enough contact. Not enough walks. He does no plate discipline, no power, no defense. He is a AAA player. And he would go to Jacksonville and he'd hit in AAA and put up numbers there. But he's somebody that's not a future of this team. And Clayton McCullough somehow, some way, has this obsession with Wagaman and keeps penciling him in the lineup. The other first baseman that plays from time to time is Liam Hicks. Now, Liam Hicks is a catcher by trade, but the Marlins have played him at first base in an unconventional manner, standing at just 5'9". But like the last two players I talked about, Liam Hicks has been struggling also. And he has a very interesting case to study. His offensive profile is unique. And we're going to talk about that right after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue, and this is the hat I'm wearing. For Marlins fans like me, it's a perfect way to subtly rep your team. Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every professional and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile styles that work on game day, on the golf course, or anywhere in between. The hat pairs perfectly with your usual Marlins gear. It doesn't have to replace your Marlins gear. It just adds to it in a subtle way, and it doesn't scream Miami Marlins. Still repping the team, still repping the colors. And it's not just hats. There's split shade gloves. Perfect gift for the golfer in your family or for you if you like to go hit the course and rep the Marlins. And right now you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com, code MLB15. Locked on Marlins is on all the major podcast platforms out there. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. But remember, you can take the show wherever you are. Liam Hicks was a Rule 5 draft pick from the Detroit Tigers this offseason. Hadn't played above AA. And he's a really interesting player to talk about. Because what Liam Hicks doesn't do, he does other things at an elite level. What I mean by that, Liam Hicks He doesn't hit the ball hard. He doesn't have bat speed. He doesn't barrel anything. But what he does do, elite whiff rate. He doesn't whiff. Elite plate discipline. And he can hit the fastball. Unlike Dane Myers over the last month, Liam Hicks on the season, he's hitting 297 against fastballs with an expected batting average of 272. His plate discipline gives him somewhat of a floor, but he needs to show more of an ability to hit for power in order to justify any consistent playing time in the lineup the rest of the season. At least that's where I look at him as. I look at Hicks as somebody that is an adequate backup, but hasn't taken the necessary steps and doesn't have the tools to be penciled in as a starter. Kind of a lot like Wagaman, but much better than Eric Wagaman, because Wagaman has no skills to offer a team. He's not a major league player. Hicks does the things he does well at, he does them really, really well. 100th percentile among qualified players in chase rate at just 16.6%. He also walks at an 11% clip compared to a 16% strikeout rate. So he knows how to handle the bat. But since July 1st, across 99 plate appearances, the power has completely evaporated. One extra base hit. That's it. And it was a double. No homers, no triples. Across 99 plate appearances, he has a single double. Everything else has been singles to get him to that 232 average. On the season, he started off really hot. He was somebody that was outperforming his skill level, I believe, because he doesn't hit the ball very hard. His ceiling is somewhat limited. And that's okay. That's okay for the player that Hicks can be. I look at somebody like Luis Arias, who no plate discipline, no power, no defense, but he makes contact at such a high rate and consistently has a very high batting average. Hicks is almost the opposite. A lot like Arias, no bat speed, doesn't hit it hard, not a ton of power, but Hicks just has professional at-bats. He'll make contact, he doesn't strike out, doesn't swing, and he'll take his walks. That's a player that has value in my mind. And when I look at the Marlins catching situation, the one thing that Hicks has to do better is improve defensively. Nick Fortes was a Marlin for so long because of his ability to call games, work with the pitching staff, and block. He was a really good blocker. Hicks, this past weekend in Atlanta, struggled. He gave up a couple of runs single-handedly just by allowing base runners to advance and come in to score when he failed to block pitches in the dirt. That's a big part of the game. He'll play some first base, but he's not cut out for first base. He's 5'9". You're not going to see players in Major League Baseball at that diminutive of a stature be an everyday first baseman. He's not the everyday catcher. He'll rotate right now with Agustin Ramirez, both of whom I think are waiting for Joe Mack. Joe Mack will be the everyday catcher at some point, hopefully in 2026. I don't see how the Marlins can continue rolling out Hicks and Ramirez and expect positive results defensively. To his credit, though, Hicks is a better defender than Ramirez. Ramirez is almost unwatchable. Hicks can pass as slightly below average. Still not good, but he's not horrendous. Where does Liam Hicks factor into the Marlins' plans? First and foremost, he needs to tap into some more power. Whatever it takes. More doubles, more home runs. You can't go another month and a half with one extra base hit. Just can't happen. You have from now until the end of September, early October, for essentially your audition to stick around on this team. Because I don't think the Marlins are going to roll into opening day 2026 with 3 catchers. Now, I could be wrong. They've done unconventional things before. But Joe Mack is waiting in the wings. Joe Mack is ready right now, if not just a few more weeks away from demanding a call-up if he continues performing well. A lot of people think September's when that's going to happen. Regardless, I see a scenario in which Mack is on the opening day roster in 26. And then you're back to 3 catchers. Liam Hicks, he was a rookie. You don't want to essentially give up on him right now. But where does he factor in? I think that you look at the things he does well at. The plate discipline, the chase rate, all that. And you recognize that there's value to be had. You could explore just platooning him with Joe Mack. If Joe Mack struggles versus lefties, Mack would be the starter, but Liam Hicks, well, they both hit lefties. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Hicks and Mack and Ramirez, those are the 3 catchers for the foreseeable future. I just think they're going to roll with 2. So Ramirez, to me, is the odd one out, and that's why I think Hicks sticks on this team as a backup. Not a platoon. They both swing lefty. But as somebody that's going to get at-bats every few days, play two games a week, he can spell you at first base and give you a professional at-bat and draw his walks. Ramirez, I want to see moved off the position entirely. So to wrap things up, Dane Myers, it's been awful, but we've seen flashes on what he can be. We've seen how good he can be against lefties. Still over 300 on the season. Eric Wagaman, he's not it. He's not the guy. He's simply a placeholder whose time has run out. And it's malpractice to keep running him out in the lineup each and every day. Liam Hicks, unique profile. Questions about where he's going to fit in long term, especially with Joe Mack being part of the Marlins' future. But I love the traits. I love the plate discipline and the approach. That's something not to sleep on. And Hicks will have a case to continue getting playing time the rest of the way. Just got to tap into some more pop. Marlins have a big road trip. They're still in the middle of it. 3 games against Cleveland. You got the Red Sox after that. Things can't get much worse than this past series in Atlanta. It was devastating, disappointing. You're now 57-61. You're coming off the thrill of being 500. Fast forward a week. You can't have another week like that. Everybody has to be dialed in, and it starts with the players who are struggling. You can't rely on Agustin Ramirez and Kyle Stowers to carry the weight for you. These 3 players, they have to do their job when they're given their opportunities. And that's for everybody down the list. 1 through 9, a continuous effort by everybody. Because if you let this thing get away from you, by the end of this week, you're going to be out of playoff contention. And nobody will be talking about the Marlins as posing a threat to the Mets. The Mets are in a free fall. The Marlins were in a bit of a free fall for a week, but before that, they were playing excellent baseball. It's a lot like Dane Myers. Beginning of the season, Myers was playing great. He's been in a free fall. The good thing about that is that it can be remedied. It can be fixed with adjustments. He's a hard worker. He's carved out a major league career from being a former pitcher to now an outfielder for an MLB team. It's a good story. But good stories don't win baseball games. And so production is going to have to come into effect. It's crunch time for these guys. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you guys for listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.